This is Extinction, one of the many DLCs of Ark, filled with a wasteland of corruption and very few places to build. And I am going to be trying to survive 100 hardcore days on it. Obviously following up my last 100 day series that did so well, and obviously I just had to make another one. Now this is going to be 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. And I'm going to make the episodes not as long as usual. Trying to shorten it down like day 1 to 5 so it doesn't last as long and you don't have to watch like an hour-long video. So this is part 1, which is day 1 to 50. Only 2 parts for you. So I hope you enjoy. Now don't forget to hit the like button and obviously subscribe and leave a comment below. I'll try to respond to most comments like I did in the last video. And my main goal for this series is to defeat all 3 titans, and I'd be pretty happy if I managed to do that. So let's go. In day 1 I started as usual. I ran around but I got attacked straight away. I mean, this didn't really help.
Oh my word. Oh my word. Right, well. We have to start again.
And yeah, I died, spread out like a starfish. Anyway, I'll spawn back in. Ready to go again. Start off, I got materials because I didn't really know where the notes were on Extinction. There was a few, but I didn't really know where they are. So I just got materials, clothes, and usual items to get you started. I also found an explorer note, which got me a few levels, and found a few Dilophosaurs that have been killed by defense units for hide.
Right, there we are. Explorer note.
Then I started making a little thatch base up below the green obelisk. This would get me started where I could put some materials and maybe not heat to death, as this area is always hot and I always need water. So I thought a building might help me with that. It was only thatch, which didn't really help at the minute, but I just wanted to get something up and down on the floor. When the base was done, it looked pretty decent. I also made some refining forges on the side. Then from day 2 to 5, I went looking for the Pteranodon. Now, usually on Extinction there's loads, but I just couldn't find any. There's usually about 10 trillion PTs here. Why is it just defense systems? As I couldn't find any, I went and killed a few dodos for hide so I can make the saddle for when I found some.
Why is nothing loading in?
Now, as you can see, nothing was loading in. This, like, literally I had to load back up 9 times. It's so irritating. Anyway, I found another PT. It was a good level 70, so I knocked him out. Finished some meat and waited for him to tame. When he tamed, he came out an alright level. I mean, it would do for now. And I flew him back to base. Now, before I went out, I'd put some metal in the forges, so I made them into smithies. I made them into tools, so I could go out and find more dinos. I found another note near my base, which leveled me up a little bit more. And after I found my note, I made loads of cooking bots because that levels me up. If you didn't know, they give so much XP, so I made an absolute ton so I could level up a decent amount without any notes. Then I found a little monkey, and I wanted to replicate my last 100 day series as I had a blue monkey on my shoulder, so I thought I'll get this one, and I did. Now this was day 5 to 10. And I also killed a good iguanodon. I was thinking about taming it for berries, but I killed it for hide anyway. Then I went to my base spot. I placed some foundations on my base spot. It was up high somewhere, which means I needed an RG to gather resources to bring up here. I made narcotics ready to tame an Argent and Anki. But when I went to find an RG, I found a really good level PT, so I decided to knock him out and wait for him to tame. When I found an RG, I made a trap. It was a decent level as well, which is really good, and I just trapped him. I managed to trap him first time and then knocked him out. After I knocked him out, I killed a stego for prime meat to tame him quickly. The RG then tamed on the prime meat, and he came out decent with decent levels and decent health, decent stamina, decent melee. Then flew back to base and logged off for a bit. Now, day 10 to 15, I expanded the base a lot and used the RG to gather more materials so I could advance with the base production. I made a ton of foundations and found some paste in the beaver dam. Not that much, but it'll do for now. I made a layout of where I wanted all the foundations to go and made the rest into walls and ceilings ready for the build. I made some triangle places so I could put some glass on the windows. I made a large gateway so I could fit my dinosaurs into the pen. After this I made walls. The gate was annoying me because it wasn't lined up properly, but I do fix that later on. Then I placed forging on the ceiling and got more ceilings made so I could start forging some metal. I placed my first glass pane, but it's all I could afford at that point in time. And then went to snow. I went to find a snow owl, some Magnamars, and at first I found a good level snow owl, so I decided to trap it and try and tame it. I trapped it first time, which was pretty decent, and it didn't escape the trap like usual. Right. When he was knocked out, I made campfires to eat meat, and he also tamed while I was waiting. Now he came out a decent level, which is pretty decent. But I left him there for now while I looked and scoured the snow area for more Managamas, but I realised I didn't have enough tranks, so I went back and got him and took him back to base. This took a while as a snow owl isn't very fast when you're not riding it. When I finally got back to base, I learnt the saddle and made the saddle for it. After I made the saddle, I went out looking for electronics so I could load of defense systems. I also looked out for an Anki to tame and a berry collector. I found a good level Iguanodon, but it was really bloody, so I used my owl to heal it up. After healing the Iguanodon, I boiled it and knocked it out, ready to tame. When he finally tamed, I went on a berry run. For narco berries, so I could make narcotics ready to go and tame more dinos like Manas, Velonosaurs, anything like that. The scrap that I got from killing defense systems, I smelted in my forges. I also made spark and gunpowder so I could make bullets to make trank darts. But then I found a good level Anki, so I knocked him out so I could go on some big metal runs. When he finally tamed, I went and got the RG and picked him up and took him on a metal run. I only got a little bit as my RG's weight isn't the best right now. After I've put all the metal into the forges, I went on a crystal run. This was to make windows for my base. I then placed the greenhouse windows on the base to make it look decent. Then it was time to go to the snow to find some Manas. When I finally found one, I healed it as it was low. It was at level 140. And I made a little trap. Then I got the gates correctly placed. The gate has to be placed just behind its legs so it can't escape. I then started to dart it, but it didn't really go as planned.
What? Oh, come on!
As you can see, I wasn't very happy. So all I did was dive bomb it, which slowed it down and kept darting it one dart at a time.
Yes.
Now, I can't show you this bit because the recording kind of messed up. but I did end up knocking it out. And then it finally tamed. When it tamed it, I took it back to base, I had to put it in the saddle. It took a while though because the snow owl was very slow at following. Now, day 20 to 30. Now, this is a big jump, I know, but this is because this whole time I was looking for a blue drop, which is the only one I can really do solo because you can't really do, with only a mana as well, you can't really do yellow drops or anything better than that with just a mana. And literally there was no blue drops, just gold drops, red drops, purple drops, and you just couldn't find any. I tried doing the yellow drop, but failed as I realised that I needed Gilly to withstand the heat. While I waited for the blue drops to fall, I went and looked for some Velonosaurs that were decent level, but I realised there was none that were decent at that time, so I went back to look for drops. I got bored, so I went back to base and started finishing off the base in around day 25. I made a bit of the ceiling and added more windows. Then it was time to keep looking for more blue drops. Again, another red drop where I yet could not do. At this point, I completely forgot that I needed Gilly, so I just tried to do the drop without Gilly, which kind of went against me. This was my first blue drop that I actually found. I ended up getting to around wave 2, where I had to go and get a drink. When I came back, the drop had disappeared. Then, a few hours later, I found another blue drop in the weirdest position ever. Now this drop was surrounded by stuff like wyverns, rock drakes, paracers, alpha rexes, so I had to clear the area first before I started the level. When I started it, stuff would just spawn in front of me like as if I weren't there, so I had to kill stuff all the time while doing the drop as well. My mana's pretty good level, so it kind of took care of the rock drakes and paracers. The alpha rexes I led off the cliff a few times, and I carried on with the drop. But then on around wave 3, there was 3 Dilophosaurs that I needed to find. For some reason they weren't attacking the drop. So I went down the cliff to find them. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff down here. Let's go. Excuse me? Excuse me? Nah, I give up this game. I give up with it. What? I can't play this game because it's broken. Oh my god. As you can see, the drop despawned and I wasn't very happy. Anyways, I ended up finding another one.
It's blue. It's blue! It's blue!
As you can see, I was quite happy. For some reason, they just weren't popping up for me, these blue ones, but I finally found it. And I started the OSD drop. Now, it went pretty well. I mean, with a blue drop, if you didn't know, you only really get Stegos, PTs, Dilophosaurs and Raptors and Trikes. That's about it. So all I had to do was get rid of waves then to complete the drop.
Let's go.
Then I finally completed the OSD defense, and it gave me out some loot. After dealing with the wrecks, I then looked at the loot which I got. I mainly wanted cryopods so I could go out and tame dinos and bring it back to base. And I think I got 201 there, so it wasn't that bad. I also got a good pistol and a few ghillie BPs, which was decent. Cryopods? One? I've seen one cryopod. More? Only one cryo. After completing that, I went back to base. Now day 30 to 35, I went on a big metal run so I could smelt loads of metal while I'm out. This was for forges, industrial forges or a chemistry bench. While I waited for that to smelt, I went right looking for corrupted hearts and for polymer. This was so I could do the boss fight. If you didn't know, you need 100 per titan, 100 corrupted hearts. And also, if you didn't know, the corrupted nodules are used as polymer in Extinction, so I also gathered them so I could make an indie forge. When I got back to base, I put them all in the fabricator, well, as many that it could fit, and I made the indie forge. When I made it, I placed it in my base. Now, I'd need to extend the roof a bit to fit it in, but it will do for now. This would help me smelt the metals like so much quicker. I think it's about 8 times quicker than forges, so that really helps. Then I went looking out for paste. I could make a chemistry bench. And then I went and got crystal with my Yankees. You need 250 crystal for the chemistry bench. I also use this for the windows in my base. When I got back to base, I made the chemistry bench and placed it down. This would help me make gunpowder and spark powder and narcotics so much quicker than before. I also made another fabby to make my base look more aesthetically pleasing. The same with the smithy. I wanted to organise my base a bit so I actually knew where something was and you have to look for half an hour to find something. When I went looking out for an RG again, I found more paste which would come helpful. But then the next few clips, the recording kind of corrupted. So I'm going to make a recreation of what happened. Basically, I gathered loads of narcotics to go and tame a Giga. I found a decent low level Giga, a female that I could breed. So I made a trap and tried to trap it. And after killing everything around it because it just eats everything, I managed to finally get it in the trap. I used a large bear trap and then placed the gate behind it, keeping it in. I just remember this is a recreation of what happened. This is basically what happened, the same, and I darted it out. When I finally darted it out after like an hour, about 100 darts was used. I went and got some prime meat. When it finally tamed, I corralled it up and brought it back to base. When I got back to base, I went on a flint run so I could make more spark powder, which would lead to more bullets for more darts for the next Giga. Then I made another fridge, realising I already had one, and made more simple rifle ammo. Then I went on a fat narcoberry run so I could get narcotics. I need around 400 darts to knock out a level 150 Giga, so I was planning on getting a high level one for the bosses, so I had to just keep farming narcos. When I got back to base, I made darts, loads of darts and loads of trank arrows, and also made loads of crossbows. I made around 400 darts and 200 trank arrows. But I am sorry, that's where I'm going to leave part 1. If you did enjoy, obviously stay tuned for part 2. It shouldn't be too long until it comes out, so please stay tuned for that. If you did enjoy, hit the like button and obviously subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.